In this video, I'm going to do a side-by-side comparison of the old Livescope, the LVS32, and the new Livescope, the LVS34. And I'm also going to compare and contrast the image quality and talk about some of the advantages and disadvantages of each, because yes, the old LVS32 does have some advantages. So I have the new Livescope mounted up here on the 12-inch graph and the old Livescope down here on the 9-inch. And I have the range adjusted way out in order to make it, a fair picture as far as make everything the same size as best I could. So basically, we have a brush pile out here at like 40 to 50 feet. And there's a couple of fish, probably some crappie swimming around on there. So I'll just let you all check that out as I scan through it. You can see there's a couple fish in front of it. And it's hard to see those on the old Livescope. They don't show up as good. There's a fish right below us. You can see that for sure on both of them. Swimming out. See, so there's a few crappie most likely right up there in that brush. And you can kind of see that you can kind of make those out here too. The new one is definitely clearer when it comes to target separation, especially like once you get in these brush piles and such. Like, it's just easier to make out exactly what's going on. The picture quality is definitely better. But you can definitely still see the brush. Like, you can tell there's brush there. Every now and then you can tell there's fish in it on the old one as well. So, right, you can see that fish here. You can see that plain as day on both of them. And I should say that all this crazy stuff you see going on the screen, like those little lines moving across and all this flashing, that's just interference between the two of them. Anytime you have two Livescope transducers running together in the same place, you'll see that start to happen. Even if you're like fishing down a bank and you start trolling close to somebody else that has a Livescope, you'll see that start to happen. So that's just normal. Just that's not any issues here. So if I shut one of these off, turn transmit off, you see that this cleans up a little bit. But like, you can still see the same clarity and same distances. It just gets rid of some of the clutter and it doesn't flash and everything goes going crazy. So now I'm just gonna troll in towards this brush. So we have some brush out here at around 100 feet on the new Livescope. I'm gonna troll in towards this brush and we're just gonna compare like the range on each of these. So I troll in, you can see the fish out there at 80 foot on the new one there. So, right, so the bottom kind of disappears on the old one out here, past like 60 foot. And that's pretty typical, especially, in like 10 foot of water. It'll be a little better out in deeper water, but in the shallower water, that's kind of how the angle of the sonar beam, it starts to dissipate out there. When it's reflecting off the bottom, it doesn't reflect as well. That's one advantage of the new Livescope. So as we troll in closer, you can see out here about 70 foot is where we can start to tell that there's something going on down here on the old Livescope. Look at those fish out here, that's pretty good. You just definitely don't have the range with the old Livescope that you have with the new one. However, the trade-off on that is that this old unit is not putting out as much sound. And it's just, you can get a little bit closer to the fish before they know you're there. So you don't need as much range. As everybody starts using these units and everybody has a Livescope, those fish are getting trained for that Livescope sound. So like, they can hear it. And you'll notice on pressured lakes, you'll start getting close to them and they'll swim away. Like, they either swim away or sometimes they swim right at the sonar transducer, which is weird to me. It's it always surprises me when they do that, but I've seen fish do that a lot, where they swim right at your trolling motor. And that's just where this one's putting out more noise. It gets better range. However, this one is quieter, so it kind of offsets that a little bit. But I wouldn't say that the reduction in noise with the old Livescope would offset the increased range of the new Livescope. I still think the new Livescope is going to give you the advantage as far as seeing the fish before they know you're there. So when I say that the 34 is louder than the 32, this is what I mean. Listen to the difference in these transducers. So basically I just held the camera, the same distance away from the transducers. And I don't know how much this translates to in the water. This was obviously in the air. And the fish obviously sense these pulses different than we do in the air with our ears. They have lateral lines and whatever else. But this is just an observation I made, and it seems to be true as far as when I made the switch from the old one to the new one, that I couldn't quite get as close to the fish. So here we have this small laydown on the bank. So when we go down here to compare, as you can see it shows up pretty good here on the new Livescope. But on the old Livescope, you can tell there's something there, but it's hard to see much of what's going on. Like, it almost looks like there's a fish above it there, honestly. And I'm not sure, probably just branches, and that's just, one characteristic of the new one where it's better than the old one, is it performs better in shallow water. So out here on a point now, and as you can see, they've got some brush around like 40-50 feet. You can see that pretty good on both of these. It does, looks different for sure. You can see some of the smaller branches and stuff sticking off of it here, as opposed to, more just showing up as a blip on the old one. But you can definitely tell there's something there. And the other advantage know, is you got this stuff out here at 80 feet. You can see pretty decent on the new one, but nothing really shows up out there. Well, you can actually see just a little bit. Let me shut this top one off because it's definitely messing with things. Transmit off. You can maybe make something out there, but you kind of have to know it's there, otherwise you wouldn't really be able to see it. You can definitely tell there's a little bit of something out there at 100 feet, but can't really make out what it is. Took a quick little break away from making the video, do a little fishing. We don't get to catch these brown ones down here a whole lot, but they normally start biting this time of year, so that's pretty cool right there. So here we're looking at a brush pile. It's about 20 foot deep approximately, and it's out like 80 to 90 foot. And as you can see, I mean, you can definitely make out that there's something there on the old Livescope, but the new one's just so much more prominent, so much easier to see. And with out here in the deeper water, you will get better range with the old Livescope, but it still isn't as good as the new one. So let's troll up on here and see how the look of this changes as we get closer. So I mean, you can definitely make out that there's some fish around down there in the old one, and definitely see them on the new one. So I mean, you can catch fish with either, that's for sure. Let's see what this looks like when I turn this sonar off. So I mean, it definitely makes it easier to see when I turn the sonar off, but you can still tell like the quality or the clarity just isn't quite as good. But you can definitely see, I mean, that's a fish there, that's the brush sticking up. But when I turn that one off, the quality is definitely just better with the new one in general. That includes range, clarity, detail, target separation. So one other advantage of the old Livescope is price. So I mean, I sold this 9-inch unit as well as the Livescope box and a transducer to a buddy for 800 bucks. And if you buy just the Livescope transducer in the black box, is gonna be like 1,700 bucks, at least retail. You can probably find them cheaper than that somewhere. But I mean, it's up to you. You just have to decide, is the increased clarity, range, is it worth the extra cash? And honestly, like, the old one still works pretty good. So it's a tough decision, and hopefully this video helped you determine what's best for you. And if it did, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe, because making these videos, I enjoy making these videos, and I hope you all enjoy watching them. So thank you all, and see y'all in the next one.